Hi, I'm Meyer, professor at the University of Minnesota, and we're here at the beautiful Minnesota Landscape Arboretum. I'd like to talk to you about using alternative grasses, ornamental grasses, at some places that you're mowing now. This is a tough site that I'm standing on. It's a slope, it's really dry, it's very sunny, and there's not really much good grass growing here. We've got thistle and a lot of weeds. So you need some site along this roadway, but what else could you plant here? In an upland site like this, we're going to look at some alternative grasses, and we'll also look at sites for wet, heavy clay soil. Little bluestem is one of our native grasses that you want to think about planting in a mass. You can see this planting here. There are not that many plants, but you want to plant a large mass of this grass. Only gets about 3 feet tall. This is really good for upland dry locations. If you've got a hilly location, the top of a hill or a slope where it's dry, you don't want to water it, light gravelly soils, little bluestem is a plant to grow there. It's a bunch grass, it's native, it will self-seed a little bit, and you'll need to cut it back in the springtime. So you have to mow the area, or burn it once a year in the springtime. But once it's established, little bluestem is a great grass for dry upland conditions. Prairie dropseed is another upland dry plant that you want to consider for slopes, for upland areas, dry, gravelly, and sandy soil. Now this is similar in site characteristics to little bluestem, but it's a finer texture and it's a less competitive plant. You might have a harder time getting this established. So you always want to put in plants that are fairly large and healthy to begin with. You'll need to put some water on the first year to get this established, but once it's established, it really tolerates dry sites well. Even though the name is prairie dropseed, and you can get seeds of this out quite easily, this little seed that's round and bead-like, it drops easily to the soil. We really don't see very much self-seeding with prairie dropseed. So you are not going to have this seeding into turf areas where it might be a problem. Little bluestem will self-seed a little bit, but you can maintain it. And neither of these really are going to be a weed in a turf area where you're mowing already. So if they do self-seed, they would be confined to just the upland drier sites where you're not mowing them. And just like the other grasses, this needs to be mowed off in the springtime. That's the one maintenance practice with ornamental grasses. You mow them off in the spring to take care of the previous year's growth. You can burn them also, but that's more involved and you need to get a permit. So prairie dropseed and little bluestem are two great grasses for dry upland conditions. Side oats grama is another drought-tolerant plant that's a native grass. This is as tall as I've ever seen it here at the Arboretum's collection because it's in the heavy clay soil that we have here. So this plant, although it will grow in heavy clay soil, where you will find it naturally is more upland, drier sites and gravelly conditions. But if you do grow it in heavy soil, it will get a little bit taller. Typically it's more like 2 feet tall and prefers the dry upland sites. Now this looks like kind of a mass here, like it has rhizomes, but this plant really is a bunch grass. It has a tendency to self-seed. And so while I started with just 4 plants here, this has self-seeded and completely covered this area. So again, here is a native grass that can self-seed, tolerant of a lot of different difficult sites, but especially dry upland conditions. Side oats grama has an interesting seed head. The little florets are all to one side, so you can always tell what the plant is. But it disarticulates, it comes apart quickly. And of the 3 dryland plants, little bluestem, prairie dropseed, and side oats, this one is probably going to sow more seedlings than anything else. But if you're covering a large upland area, that can be a good thing. So these are some examples of grasses you can put in your toolbox for a difficult site. You really don't want an area that's got weeds on it with hardly any growth at all. It's not good for erosion or the environment. So think about those grasses we looked at for tough upland sites.